It is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Thank you so much for being with us right from 6:30 till now. In case you've just joined, well, why not make it a date with us? We start our live broadcast at exactly 6:30 every weekday, where we spice up your mornings with some laughters. Try to make you, fix you in that mood of the day. And very important, it's not all about laughter, some jokes, but very informative information, because you get to know what is happening locally and internationally. We look at what is trending in the papers. You have weather, you have traffic, you have sports updates. So you begin your day a very informed person, ready to fit in any discussion worth participating in. I'm Robert Chirabo, and today we want to look at updates in our oil and gas sector. We want to know how far have we gone with Tilenga, how far have we gone with Kingfisher, and the ECOP and the refinery project. You know, we are all eager that by 2025, not far from today, we believe we shall have our first oil from this lovely country, the Pearl of Africa. And joining me on set to discuss this is Muhumuza Didas, who happens to be the Senior Officer, Stakeholders Management at the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, viewers. I'm glad to be here to share insights into the oil and gas developments of Uganda. I greet you all. Thank you.
Well, that said, I'm very eager to know what are the latest updates in this oil and gas sector.
Just quickly to share the latest update. We've had a long haul, maybe I would call a long journey. As if you've been following the history of oil and gas in Uganda, it started a long way in the 1920s, and so many things happened in those early days, and then a lot of things have been happening since that time. So we shall not go into the history today. We just have to appreciate that where we have gone this far, it's a lot of things that are right now happening. I think if one had chance to just visit and visualize what is happening, you realize there's heightened level of activity. As of today, we've got the development of the key resource projects. That is the Tilenga project, which is run by Total Energies, Uganda, and then there is the Kingfisher project. Those are the two key upstream projects where you've got resources that were discovered some time back and confirmed to be commercially viable with the onset of the first commercial discovery in 2006 at Mputa 1 well site in Kaisotonya area, which is in Hoima. There has been a lot of work that has been done and confirmation that we've got commercially viable resources. Now, as we speak now, we've got the development of these resources. You know, when you look for oil, find it, you also have to confirm that it's commercially viable. So Uganda passed that critical phase, and we've got 21 discoveries across the board that the major players are now concentrating on to prepare the necessary facilities to have this oil taken out of the ground. And when you take it out of the ground, you must also have over the ground surface, you call them over the ground facilities, like the central processing facilities, and then inflow lines, those that connect different wells to the central processing facility, and then the feeder line. The central processing facility is maybe, I would simply call it the first line of refining. When you get the oil from the ground, it has got some impurities, water, sand, and then also some associated gas. You must separate those properties and then treat the fluids or stabilize the crude, and then you send it onward to the market. So you send it for either refining or sell as crude. So Uganda opted for two critical options: a refinery, which will be established in Hoima, in Kabale Parish, Seruka Sub-County, Hoima District, and the crude oil export pipeline, the maybe commonly known as ECOP, which starts from the same place, Kabale, and goes to Tanga port in Tanzania, running for about 1,443 kilometers. Now, the developments that happen is really a lot. I may not be able to explain all here. I've just given a snippet of what is happening. So we've got 4 rigs in the field. 1 rig is working in the Kingfisher development area where Sinok is the operator, and it's going to work in that area. Already it's had good success on one of the sites. Serious work has happened. Some wells have been completed, and there are 3 rigs.
Did you say we discovered 21 wells?
There are 21 discoveries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the exploration and appraisal wells are about 121 that were drilled in the exploration and appraisal phase. Now we have 21 discoveries. You know, discoveries are really now more than just a well. It's getting to appreciate the reservoir dynamics, and now that's geology and
please don't go technical.
Yeah,
my grandfather in Kasoga Kaputo is watching.
Yeah, so what matters now is when you've got those discoveries, there are 21. So you find on a discovery there's going to be so many wells on a discovery drilled to ensure that there's maximum exploitation of the hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons, I mean oil and gas. You know, the fluids and the gas you take out, that you clean up and then stabilize. And so those discoveries are the major cause for the work which is happening now. That you base on that with the confirmation of the resource value. As of today, we've got 6.5 billion barrels of oil in place, meaning the overall assessment is looking at having 6.5 billion barrels of oil in place. It's still a huge assessment and value proposition, but of that, what is discovered to date, about 1.4 billion barrels is recoverable, meaning what you can viably extract. So it's like how you go.
Maybe let's simplify it this way for my viewers.
Yes.
When we talk about oil and gas sector, we usually look at, we just need an update on each of these that I'm going to mention. One, Tilenga, what are we doing at Tilenga right now, what is happening? Kingfisher, what is happening? Then we move to the refinery, how far have we gone? Then of course the East African crude pipeline, how far have we gone? So in simplicity, leave our own barrels, what?
Yes,
because they are eager. We are eager for 2025. So we just want lightly these progresses.
Yeah, and I think, thank you so much for that input. What I was trying to explain is exactly what you're asking. As we speak now, there is now development of those fields. Kingfisher and Tilenga is the same processes. I've just been explaining it's applicable to both, where there is a push to see to it that the necessary infrastructure
so the rigs
is put in place.
Both have now rigs?
Yes, 3 rigs are in Tilenga and 1 rig is in Kingfisher. And they are drilling production and water injection wells and reference wells. So it's so many, but developing these fields to ensure that the resources are taken out. And after that, there will be the necessary facilities in place, and the crude will come out and cleaned and then set for the market. As we speak now, what is happening in ECOP, quite a number of preparatory activities are happening. There's been land acquisition and compensation, settlement. Meanwhile, the land acquisition, compensation, and resettlement of people for the Tilenga and Kingfisher have by and large been completed, with just very few cases to close out. And I think for Kingfisher, it's all sorted. It's just for Tilenga a few cases, but most of the land required for the facilities has been acquired. And now we've got the real technical work happening to establish the necessary infrastructure, which you said you wouldn't want to delve into, but of course it requires a lot of time to do. And then all these fields will be connected to Kabale. So you've got a feeder line which is also being worked on now for Kingfisher. It's about not more than 50 kilometers long. There's also a feeder line. There's a land acquisition happening. Feeder line from Tilenga to Kabale is about 95 kilometers. And they will all put the crude in Kabale. And from Kabale, the crude will go to the refinery, which is in Kabale, and then the other will go to
Have we started
Tanga.
anything when it comes to the refinery?
There's a lot of background work, I would say, critical discussions and negotiations. You know, some of these activities really are happening back to back, I would say. As we have the other developments, we've got also the other midstream developments like the refinery, a lot of discussions getting to have the developers on board, and some critical studies have already been undertaken, the ESIA, that's Environmental and Social Impact Assessment. The land was already acquired, which is already in place. That was done by government of Uganda, and that is a lot of work happening today. For the ECOP, yeah, a lot is also happening. The clearance of critical infrastructure positions. There's a lot upfront work happening on the Tanzanian side, moving this side, but also a lot also happening this side to prepare the necessary laying of the pipes and the like, and even more work happening where the pipes are being prepared from, the ordering and so forth. So, in a nutshell, a lot of work is happening at the same time to see to it that we hit the target of 2025.
Well, one of the things that most excited me as Ugandan is the fact that we chose to have a refinery. Many countries just choose to sell their oil in crude form. Yet with a refinery, you have so much byproducts that still remain for fertilizers, for whatever.
Yeah.
And just see that some of them, actually I was reading more, I was interested so much when I learned that even Dangote in Nigeria there is now really setting up a very huge refinery for their country.
It's up now.
It's up already actually for their country. Now when you look at the benefits of a country having a refinery, well, they are very massive, and I can say if all happens as planned, well, I think we are going on for something very interesting. But now you've talked about a beehive of activities happening. You have these two sites, Tilenga, Kingfisher, you have the ECOP pipeline, then a refinery also up. The question now that comes to my mind, of course, we know you have Sinok, then you have Total. The element of local content, our contractors, the small, medium enterprises, ESMEs, how do we promote this, their involvement?
Yeah, thank you, Wana Nyonyintono. I would like to share that national content promotion is one of the key areas for strict follow-up and regulation by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. And there's a national content policy, there are regulations, and also you've got a lot that has been put in place to ensure that there is value retention. Beyond even, of course, when you talk of national content, many times people look at those who are employed and so forth. But I think it's just more than that. It also looks at having several businesses being able to access opportunities, getting to connect with the lucrative contracts, and even at all levels, be it the lowest up to the highest. So you've got Ugandan companies doing high-level engineering works, transportation, you've got supplies, you've got even support, many other support services like undertaking studies and so forth. So what I have to share quickly here is there's been a lot that has been done through the petroleum, through the Petroleum Authority, fulfilling the requirements for the national content policy and regulations. We've got a national supplier database that is an online platform, and it's managed by the authority, but to enable Ugandan companies, first of all, get registered and be known. And then that helps in connecting with the opportunities. So we've got deliberate efforts aimed at fostering the small, medium, and medium enterprises, the SMEs you talked about. And then you've got the the local businesses. There's been a lot of training, capacity enhancement of Ugandans to be able to appreciate the need to have skilled manpower in specialized welding. It's quite unique. It's not the normal welding. I've got 2G, 3G, 5G, 6G, that's generation. 6G, not G is the generation. And you've got the requirement to have certified manpower with the certified competencies and skills. You've got the Uganda Petroleum Institute located in Kigumba, which is really one of the strategic interventions to build a local Ugandan capacity to fill the gaps. So we've had so much also on that front to kind of build a strong manpower base. And besides that, there is also deliberate kind of push to the key players to get local businesses and enterprises to connect with the operations to provide supplies, local food supplies and the like. So when you talk of the aspects to do with helping Ugandans, a lot more is being done and more is also coming on board. The overall objective is to ensure that there is value retention for the Ugandan economy to benefit Ugandans. And the target is to have the huge investment value retaining 40% of that in all aspects to ensure that we've got a great transformation of our economy and also leave great impact on the socio-economic transformation and development of Ugandan and the economy overall. That's what I can share here now.
Well, one of the things that really I was interested in commended government, the Uganda Petroleum Authority, is that we have specific jobs, contracts, ring-fenced for Ugandans.
Yeah, 16 service areas.
16 service areas.
Yeah.
And I find that very interesting. Of course, opportunity comes to those who are prepared.
Yeah.
Now it is entirely upon Ugandans to ensure that they are prepared very, very well to be able to partake of these opportunities that are specifically ring-fenced for them. Now, this also brings me to something in relation to that. We know that these companies, the one at Tilenga, Kingfisher, they're here for some time.
Yeah.
But there's an agreed period when they will have to hand over to Ugandans
Yeah.
to run this sector. How far or what efforts are being put in place to train, to skill Ugandans so that we don't continue saying we don't have the technical know-how of doing this, we are not able enough, we still have these foreigners, our brothers, the development partners in this sector, so that we are able to partake or take over when they have, but also improve ourselves.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really like your question. They're really good. One thing to build on what I've just said is knowing very well, and like I've told you, I think Uganda has had an advantage of a long haul. It's a long time that we've had this, these developments happening. And this has come with the benefit of having time to prepare, having time to learn from the best experiences and the worst experiences. And one of the key things has been getting to build local capacity of Ugandans. Now, when these companies, say Total Energies and Sinok Uganda, come with proposals for manpower requirements, they are also required to put in place a nationalization plan that you get an expert and have that expert work with a local who has to be trained through benchmarking and even deliberate capacity enhancement, so that after some time the Ugandans take over. So there are so many Ugandans who have had chance to operate or work with these seemingly highly technical aspects, and you realize that there is great capacity, resident capacity to date, but still more is required. And there is also a very important aspect that I shouldn't forget. When a lot of developments were taking place. One of the deliberate undertaking was that's up about 2013, 2012, 2013, there was the enactment of the new upstream and midstream laws. Upstream to govern the developments in Kingfisher, Tilenga, and then the midstream to govern the ECOP, refinery aspects, and so forth. And one of the creations, of course, some of the creations, that's when the Petroleum Authority was created. The other was the Uganda National Oil Company. This is Uganda's major commercial player. That all these projects we're talking about, the Uganda National Oil Company is a shareholder, okay? And it represents government interests or the state's interests. And one of the things that is happening at the National Oil Company is also building capacity. It's purely Ugandan. There are no experts in that company. And it has to get to a level of matching the capacity and have a lot more Ugandan content, I would say, in terms of technically competent people and technically strong business driver for the benefit of the Ugandan economy. So all these, maybe before I stop here, are done incrementally. You know, you can't do it in one day. Yes, but there is a lot. If you go to the Petroleum Authority, it's purely Ugandan. There's great capacity. You must have equally competent people to regulate activities that are highly technical. So there are so many trained people in all these institutions that are doing a very great job. And even the local companies are specifically required to recruit Ugandans and train them. And there is so much that is happening in various fronts to build the capacity of Ugandans and ensure that, like you anticipated, at some stage, there will be need to have Ugandans running the show. And there's a lot more, you know, like this is something maybe I shouldn't forget. As the planning is undertaken, it's also through the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, there's a lot more work which is also happening in terms of licensing more areas. Now, what we are talking about is not more than maybe 20, 25% of the Albertine Graben, of the explorable area. And there's still much more. People may assume that, yeah, you know, everything is now around Tilenga and Kingfisher. No, this is just about 25, or maybe not more than 25% of the explorable area. 20 or 25, thereabout. So there's need to really plan for that going forward. And we still have the oil and gas industry here for some time, you know, to ensure that we maximize value and transform our economy and also invest in other critical sectors of the economy. I appreciate, I thank you.
Well, very, you know, you must keep hope alive. Yeah. But when you listen to Muhumu's most of saying, we still have more. Yeah. Of course, you know that one time we will not have this oil. Yes. We will have exploited it. But we must ensure that we go slow, much as we yearn to have the first oil by 2025, to avoid mistakes done by other countries where instead of oil being a blessing, it turned into a curse. And I know you've heard many times we talk about the oil curse in countries I'm not going to mention. Now allow me to go for this break. When I return, we'll still be discussing more with my guest in studios, give you an update regarding the oil and gas sector in Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
We are running the program of parish development model. That is a model, a strategy that is supposed to enhance wealth creation by engaging 39% of the population that is not into the money economy so far as a district, We have 56 parish development circles, and they have accessed funds. Last year we received about 560 million shillings, of which we have disbursed that money to them, and each beneficiary receives a maximum of 1 million shillings. Those PDM circles are into 56 parishes across the district, and so far they have no complaint about the disbursements and the receiving of the funds, which I think is a very positive note, because people have been talking about funds not being received elsewhere, but for Bushenyi, all those who have applied for the funds have received it, especially the revolving fund.
Here is the 2023 musical launch of the year. 16th of September 2023, Kololo Ceremonial Grounds will be the only place to be, as the whole of Uganda will gather to witness the Museveni Awoma musical launch by Eman Sereko, also known as Munamasaka. Don't miss all your artists, comedians, stage and movie actors, members of parliament, ministers, leaders at different levels, led by the Right Honorable Premier Robin Nabanja. The chief guest of the day will be the one and only Sabalwanyi Jajamwami, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. All at a free entry at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds on the 16th of September 2023. Do not miss.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break. Thank you for being with us on UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra. In case you've just joined, it is an extension of Good Morning Uganda, but we are here every day from 6:30. I'm Robert Cherabo Nyonyitono, and with me I have Muhumuza Dides, who comes from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and we are looking at an update of our oil and gas sector. What is happening there? What is happening at Kingfisher? What is happening at Tilenga? How far have we gone with the ECOP pipeline? How far have we gone with the refinery? What are the opportunities that are there? The talk is all about that, so that you're well aware of what is happening. And of course, as we gear up to 2025, where we believe our first oil will be coming out of the ground and we'll be enjoying the benefits here, but also ensuring that Uganda's oil is a blessing and not a curse. Now, in relation to that, let's look at how are the rights of the host communities whose land has been rendered to this project being protected.
Thank you, Bwana Nyonyitono. I think, I don't know. First and foremost, I would like to share that the land acquisition process is premised on a very detailed and thorough process. The initial stage for all these activities we're talking about has always been undertaking proper assessment. And one of those is the environmental and social impact assessment, where you really get to appreciate the global picture of what the development will, what impacts the development will create, and even you devise the necessary impact mitigation strategies. Now, but to get down to the land acquisition, there is what is also done specifically. That's the settlement action planning. And this is a very involving process which includes even the people who are impacted. And under this, we've got the land acquisition, resettlement, and compensation process and procedures. So all these are done under the watch of the necessary institutions of government, the local communities, and even the civil society organizations, and everybody who is concerned. Now, there has been a lot of misinformation running that the land is just grabbed. That is not true. the truth of the matter is the land is got with the consent. And there are livelihood improvement and restoration initiatives that are undertaken, including replacement of houses. You find people who were living in not good housing previously, getting better housing and attendant facilities. But even when they are resettled, majority of those people did not have land titles. They get land titles. And then they also get enhanced livelihood options. So when it comes to protection of rights, it really gets to that level, that there's even gender consideration, that no household is treated in isolation in terms of looking at only the head of household, but even the women and children are integrated in all these processes to ensure that there is no abuse of these other people's rights, especially when money comes into a home. Many challenges come about. So there is also that extra input. So there is a lot that has been done. But of course, there is always learning. And there is maintenance of contact with these people. They are not resettled very far in the first place. They are resettled in their places of choice where they would really wish to be, and then enabled to acquire those places and then houses built. Those who take cash also have their right, but to make it appropriate, it has to be decided when you're sure that actually they are going to be okay. So if they've got other places they have always had, then they are allowed to do that. So that's how I can say it. But one of the most important things is to ensure that the acquisition, settlement, and compensation is done according to the provisions of the laws of the land, and with the integration of international best practice, like the IFC performance standards. That's IFC is the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank. They have set up certain good practice standards applied across the board in the world. There are lessons to pick from that, to ensure to pick from the same, to ensure that these people's rights are protected for the long term. That's what I can share in that regard.
Well, that was an issue that sometime had raised concern, but maybe it was being politicized, where there were bits and issues of compensation. And I hope that people are watching, definitely. And of course, now, when we hear that those rights, and you talked about international standards?
Yeah, IFC performance standards.
IFC performance standards.
The International Finance Corporation of the World Bank sets good practice standards.
And that's what you're following?
Less learning from those, but the main is the law of the land. Laws as prescribed in Uganda, starting with the constitution.
So of what percentage have we been able to compensate, if you're at liberty to reveal this?
Now, like in the beginning, I advise that over 99%, I would say, for the Tilenga area, people have been compensated, and they have had their settlement houses built. I think over 200 houses have been built for those who opted to get resettled. And then for Kingfisher, it's more or less 100% compensated. And we've got not less than maybe 90% for the, about 90% or thereabout for the ECOP. Yeah, those are the figures I can share.
So not bad percentages.
Yeah.
Not bad percentages. I long to go there and also look at some of the happenings in that area, more so land compensation.
Yeah.
Now, that said, when we look at the oil and gas sector, globally there is so much concern about the environment. We've even seen a war on fossil fuels. Now, this brings me to ask, how, what is being done to ensure that we have coexistence with the environment, which is a very important global discussion right now?
What is very important for us to appreciate is, yes, you've talked about it. I think the environmental concerns have been here for a long time to begin with. But also to make it, to put it differently, is we have had environmental impacts, especially from human activity, deforestation, encroachment on wetlands. We've had poor farming practices and so forth. And these have impacted the environment over the years. There are studies that were undertaken on, for example, the snow-capped peak of the mountain Rwenzori, in the mountains of the moon. And it's been diminishing for decades. And this is because of global warming. Now, those concerns are very well taken. Now, the oil and gas industry is one of those sectors in the world accused of creating a lot of damage. But there's one fact that has to be put forth, that for the case of Uganda, we've got a lot more challenges to solve with sustainable exploitation of these resources. If, for example, we get exploitation of the hydrocarbons sustainably, we get great value to invest in clean energy technologies, because we need the capital. And we also have increased supply of, for example, gas, which is cleaner than wood, which is the main, biomass is the major source of energy that we
You're talking about LGP?
LPG, yes.
LPG,
yes. It will solve the puzzle of embarking on wood, because all the forests are decimated and trees cut to produce charcoal, and we've had problems of misconception that it's only the oil and gas that is creating this. We need energy for industrialization and transformation of the economy. We need to provide as much lighting or energy source for our communities, access to electricity.
Maybe there's a belief that during oil exploration, there is so much emission. Issues being set out, and it's open something, Most of these refineries, when you're passing through, when you look at various clips that are coming in, you see huge furnaces of fire, smoke, and all that. That maybe not so many sectors can be able to provide such huge percentages emissions to the environment, and this may be the concern. And also after there, when now you have the oil, this burning of vehicles, still there's so much pollution. So that is why maybe people sometimes look at it as one sector. I've not been to an active refinery, but I've been able to look at a number of clips, read, view, internet, and there's always this huge. You can even see that with all these gases running to the environment, then it's a very big problem.
Of course, one thing I have to say that yes, those clips have run, and also one of the key things that we need to appreciate is, for example, there are enhanced technologies. Some of those clips, yes, have indicated that, but they are based on hitherto applied technologies that were rudimentary. I would say that because as we speak now, I don't know when you last visited the oil fields.
Some time back.
You really need to visit some of those things, some of those places, and see how much intervention has been put in to minimize all the things you're saying, be it the noise, the dust, the impact of vibration, and even the emissions you're talking about. It's cleaner technologies, smart technologies, I would call them. Even you pass a place and you don't realize the rig is working. We are at that stage. Now you can imagine the installations that are coming will also consider that. And there is also one thing, the extra input. These developments are also coming with extra support to, for example, tree planting campaigns. Millions of trees are lined to be planted along these developments. UNOC is running a campaign. Total, CNOC, and the government of Uganda overall. And this is also not just looking at oil and gas, looking at the entire environment management terrain and the focus on minimizing the impact that connects with the climate change. Just ensuring that as we undertake operations in this terrain, what contribution do we make to minimize the impact of climate change? Directly through applying smarter technologies that minimize those impacts you're talking about, but also contributing to the bigger picture of managing and maintaining good integrity of the ecosystems, you know, around these operation areas. So if we had chance to discuss beyond the time frame we have here, you would learn about the broader focus and how the industry now looks at itself. You see, companies like Total, now it's called Total Energies, having an integrated approach to fostering diversified energy technologies, including the cleaner energy and the management of those issues to do with the emissions and so forth, minimization of emissions. Those are highly prioritized aspects, and we need to have all these aspects very well documented and shared with Ugandans. And you're right, it's very important to allay these fears and minimize the informational challenge that can come about, whereby people say we may not survive the problems that other areas have experienced. But we have to make a contribution and to work together in managing all these aspects more strategically and ensure that we've got collaborative mechanisms for this. Yeah.
Well, time seems to be flying, but there is so much that we are learning, and of course information regarding what is happening in the oil and gas sector in Uganda. Now, Muhumuza, I must let you go, but what is your parting shot this morning?
Thank you. Yeah. Bwana Nyonyintono. My parting shot is one. I will really very much appreciate the opportunity for sharing with fellow Ugandans the developments regarding oil and gas in this country and how this is playing out in the entire picture of the development of the economy. I would implore all sector players, but also mainly other stakeholders like the media and others, to get into appreciating how this sector works and be able to educate as many people as possible, but also to seek support for these developments in whatever way to ensure that we achieve sustainable development in our economy. So I would wish everybody a good day, and we keep communicating and sharing key aspects regarding this development. I thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and that insight and update regarding Uganda's oil and petroleum sector, where we've been looking at the progress so far and of course trying to look at what government is doing to ensure promotion of local or national content where Ugandans can participate, but also issues that have been coming up. For example, land acquisition, the rights of people that owned this land that is being used, and many others. Now, this is our opportunity as Ugandans. Interest yourself to know more about the oil and gas sector in this country, the updates, and how best you can benefit from that. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, the good Lord willing. Let's all work towards developing our country. For God and my country, see you tomorrow.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Nibanyita kana nyita says Nwagaba, commercial officer, Abwantunga District Government.
I am Sez Nwagaba, the commercial officer for Ntungamo local government. I express my gratitude to God for this platform and the Emyuga initiative brought to us by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, as it has positively transformed the lives of the people in Ntungamo, whom I have known for a long time. When you visit the beneficiaries of this program, you can easily witness the significant positive changes in their lives. The audit report demonstrates that despite their leader being deaf and blind, profits are being made, highlighting how this program has actively engaged and evolved every individual. Initially, we received 2 billion and 650 million Uganda shillings. Each constituency received 530 million Uganda shillings. I would like to express my gratitude to this platform for providing us with the opportunity to share information about the Emyuga program. Our special thanks go to the President for initiating the program, and additionally, I would like to mention that there are numerous similar projects in Rubare and Ntungamo.
Lachuli Zono Industrial is one of the presidential initiatives which is brought here in Achule land to skill our youth. The skilling is free of charge. What you really need, you have to be within the age of 18 to 35. They don't need any requirements apart from being willing. You have to be willing, and a youth who is willing to get the skills. The courses we have started with only 4. That is tailoring, hairdressing, carpentry, and welding. First intake we registered 212 students from 10 administrative units of Acholi. These students, they recruited them from different districts within the Acholi sub-region. If we continue with this cooperation, many beneficiaries will pass through us, and they will go with enough skills, unknown skills, which will change them and later bring them into man economy.